It's about to get Gabby AF.
We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF. We about to get Gabby AF, Gabby AF.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Gabby AF. I am super hyped to have this woman join me this week. This is someone I've been trying to get on for a minute because she means a lot to me. She's a friend. She's someone who took a chance on me early in the business, and that is none other than Miss Maria Kanellis Bennett. Hi, Maria. How are you today?
I'm good. I got the kids off to school today, and there wasn't too many tears, so I'm in a good mood.
Oh, man. Tears on your end or their end, or both?
A little bit of both, probably. A little bit of both.
Oh, man. I mean, that's just, like, sad. But, like, you post the pictures, by the way, and, like, I'm like, they're such perfect. There's such a perfect mix of you and Mike, I feel like, which is why it's so crazy, because you have one boy, one girl, and they look exactly like what I would think your kids would look like.
Yeah, and it's wild because, like, after we had my daughter, we were like, oh, gosh, who's going to compete with that? If we have another one, and then my son comes along with these piercing blue eyes and, like, this personality where he just wants to make mommy laugh. And so it's like Freddie she's all drama, and they're both very intuitive children. And so, like, they know the feel of the room, so they want to both perform. And my daughter is drama and dance and creativity, and my son is just pure humor. And so it's, between the two of them, they got it covered. They really do.
They got all the personality in the world. Well, who's the funny one between you and Mike? I feel like it's you, right?
So Mike always says that I have a terrible sense of humor. But I think it's just because I don't like the movies he likes. And my sense of humor is just a little different, than his. And he's got, like, boy humor, like.
What are the movies he likes? And I'll tell you if I understand.
Dumb and Dumber. That would be, like, number one.
That's a classic.
And I hate it. I hate Dumb and Dumber. Okay. And, like, those type of movies. And I just can't do it. Whereas mine is more like Coming to America. And like in that era, like, I love Chris Farley, and era of
Black Sheep is so good too.
Yeah. So I just have a little bit older humor, and I love physical humor. So, like, Lucille Ball and Goldie Hawn, like, these are my people, they just very physical humor. So we're funny in different ways.
He's never made me laugh, and you've made me laugh, so I think you're the funny one if Mike's listening. But I mentioned when I introduced you that you were someone that took a chance on me very early on in the business, because you hired me for Women's Wrestling Army with no experience whatsoever as a backstage interviewer. And you were like, you know what? I kind of just like her. I'm just going to, like, throw her on and see how she does. And that kind of changed my entire life. I don't even know if you know this, but, like, that's when I knew, like, that's what I wanted to do, because you and Bobby took that, chance on me.
Bobby mentioned it first. I do have to give him that credit. And I was like,
give him that credit.
I know. he's gonna be parading around like, it's all me. Oh my God. Bobby is the greatest. He is the greatest business partner I've ever had, and, like, we work so very well together. And when he first mentioned you, I was like, yes, let's do it. Let's see. And then just watching you on camera with all of the girls and how you genuinely want them to succeed. So the biggest thing with being an interviewer is you have to want the person that's next to you to succeed. So if you're a person that's just there for yourself, it's not going to work. You have to be there for the person that you're with. You have to be genuinely interested in what they have to say. Like, that's why Renee is so great. Renee's just interested in humans. Like, she just wants to know, like, what's your story? And she cares. And so those are the types that always seem to be the most successful as an interviewer. And I think the same about you. I think you just really are interested in human beings, and you want to hear what they have to say.
That's kind of why I have this podcast. That's kind of all I want to do when I talk to people. Like, I'm not the person who's like, I'm going to get this breaking news on this or that. Like, I just like to have conversations with people. I think that sometimes, especially in pro wrestling, as a fan, you get lost in the fact that you guys are human beings at the end of the day, and you're not maybe this over the top personality you see on TV. You're not a heel, you're not a babyface. Like, you're just a regular person who's very good at something that is hard to do, kind of. So like, I take that as a huge compliment because that changed my life. And I will say, watching you work when I would watch you at Women's Wrestling Army, like, blew my mind. And I say this to everybody all the time. You were like cutting a promo, like doing something, and you did it like off the top of your head. Like, I don't even know if it was like you were like, had a couple things you had to say and you did it. And I remember I was sitting with Mike at the table and I was like, that was the fucking most amazing thing I've ever seen. Like, the way you cut, like the way you did it, you like altered yourself for it. Like, you just knew what you were going to do. And it was just a beeline of what you had to say. And it was like a one take. And I was like, that's one of the best promos I've ever seen. And you were like 2 minutes before that, you were like telling people what to do. And then you just turned it on to do it. And it was amazing. And I was like, and he's like, oh yeah, you never got to see her work before. Like, I'm used to it, you know, cause it's Mike and he loves you so much. But like, you're an amazing person to see work, and people don't realize how good you are at doing so much and elevating other women. Like, that's what you were doing there. You still do it. I mean, a lot of those girls that I worked with are in AEW or in Ring of Honor and are in NXT now. So it's like an amazing thing to see that you care that much about other people too, and not just yourself when you're in it.
It's thank you so much.
Of course.
That's never the reason. And I always, it was never for me, because I had my moment in the sun and it was great and I loved it. And I had a ton of opportunities that many people don't get anymore. But for me, as far as like promos and stuff, and I don't know who's listening or, you know, who might hear this, it's not so much about like the words on the paper. It never is going to be about that. It's going to be about what you believe in. And even if you're a crazy character, it's still, what does that character believe in? So no matter who you are or what you're trying to prove or what kind of character you're doing, if you know what you believe in and you have that integrity, then the promos come easier. It's when you try and like shoehorn people into something that they do not believe at all and they don't want to do it, that it's going to be horrible. So for me with Women's Wrestling Army, it was about finding who each individual was and then letting them do that, and not making them do something just because I wanted it. And like, I don't care. Like it's not going to affect me if they don't agree with it, or if, you know, they have a different idea of what they want to be. So let's just let everybody do what they're best at and then make a really great show. And that's what it was about. And my hope and Bobby's hope the entire time was, let's teach them as much as we can within these couple of days and then send them off. Like, send them off. I hope they get hired. I hope they feed their families. I hope they have these tremendous careers, or I hope they have a really great experience, and that's enough. So, I miss it. I miss it desperately. And I hope we get to do it again. We've been having some conversations. With everything else going on in my life, it's a little bit difficult right now, but we are starting to have those conversations again, and we'll see what ends up happening.
Well, that's exciting because I didn't know that, and then maybe I'll be interviewing some people.
I
don't
hope
know,
so.
but that's exciting. I hope so. Well, yeah. I mean, well, thank you, because you did do that for me personally. That was my experience where it really opened my eyes to knowing what I wanted to do. And I did learn so much from you guys. So I hope you at least know that. And that's me talking, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. But let's get into a little bit. You just mentioned, you're dealing with some other stuff. Let's get into you now, because I do want to talk about you, not everybody else that you elevate. How are you doing? Because you're very open. You're an open book on social media. You always kind of talk about your struggles and your health and stuff. So if you feel comfortable talking to me about it, I would love to know how my good friend is doing.
Yeah, it's I feel comfortable talking about it because I know so many people go through the same thing. And even people within the industry are going through the same kind of issues that I'm experiencing right now. And I feel okay. Like I've felt the same way for the last 3 years. My symptoms have been pretty much the same since before I had my thyroid surgery. And it all started, ironically, the year that Ring of Honor closed, before Tony purchased it. And it was in December of that year, 2021. And all of a sudden, like I started feeling really exhausted and like not, oh, I'm tired because I have a toddler and my daughter was younger at the time, but tired isn't I can't move. Like I just like am so exhausted. And I'm waking up in the middle of the night and I'm having like my emotions are all over the place. And I was losing my hair for a little bit there. And like, so it was all these very strange things. My metabolism is really crazy right now. And I was getting like super hot all of a sudden and, like hot flashes. But then when I went to my doctor, it wasn't hot flashes. So I've been having these symptoms now for years. And I got my thyroid removed in February of last year, and it helped for like 2 months. And then it proceeded to start getting worse again. And so then, and for those of you that have already read this online, I'll just quickly repeat it. But like, I kept fighting to get my adrenal glands looked at. And the only reason why we found that there was a mass on my adrenal glands was because I was having tingling in my hands and losing strength, and my vision was blurring. So they did an MRI of my head and neck, and then my upper back and my lower back. And while they were doing that, they found a mass. And it's about 1.5 inches. It's borderline of what they really get concerned about with cancer. But then we did a CT with contrast, which shows you how dense something is, and it's really, really dense. And that's why they're concerned about it being cancer. And so no matter what, we're having it removed in September sometime. Unless, of course, something comes up in my blood work, which I'm getting done tomorrow and the next day. But, it's a surgery that they have to take out my entire adrenal gland because they don't biopsy them. So after they take the whole thing out, then they'll biopsy it. Luckily, it's a laparoscopic, so they're just doing 4 small holes in my back to take this thing out. But, it's 2 weeks of not lifting anything, and it's 6 weeks of not lifting more than 10 pounds. And, I'm hopeful that, that'll be the end of it and that it's not cancerous. We won't know until after the surgery. So, it's just wild because there was a few doctors that just kind of pushed it off as, oh, well, you're a woman and your age. And it's like, no, I know that something is wrong. Like things don't happen this quickly without there being a catalyst. So, I'm just glad that I fought so many people. And I was like, I need answers. So, because otherwise, I would still be dealing with all these symptoms without any answers whatsoever. At least now we have some answers. And, so I'll have some nice scars. I already have one, so I'm going to end up with a few more. But hopefully that will fix the issue and I can move through the rest of my life without any more problems.
Wow. Well, obviously we're hoping for the best with that, but that is crazy. And they do say like women have that intuition about like when you, and I'm sure honestly men do too, when you know something's wrong with your body, like you have to fight for it, because that's not the first time I've heard like a story like that where someone's like, no, I felt off and I went to the doctor and they said everything was fine, but I knew something was off. Yeah. And it's like, sometimes you have to press it for yourself.
Well, with this too. So I ended up switching doctors. My very first, the first doctor I went to with this was like, oh no, you're probably just going through perimenopause, blah, blah, blah. and like my voice was so raspy at the time, and I was having heart palpitations, which have since came back. And I was like, no, my mom had thyroid surgery when she was in her early 40s. Like, this is a problem. My sister just had thyroid cancer 2 years ago. So, which she's very vocal on her Instagram page. And like, it's, it's a problem in my family. So please check it. And he didn't even feel my throat. So I went to the next doctor. He touched my throat and said, you need to get an ultrasound. And turns out my thyroid was 6 times the size it was supposed to be.
Oh my God.
So they took out half of it. They found some abnormal cells that would have turned cancerous. And it's like, if I wouldn't have said something, you can have a heart attack. Like, it's like,
God. That's so scary.
Your thyroid and all of your endocrine, like, it does everything. Your digestive system, your metabolism, brain fog, like all your heart, all of these things, it comes from your hormones. And if, something is not right, like, you're just going to feel bad. So, I've been doing a ton of research. Like,
oh my gosh.
You have to fight for yourself.
Yeah, no. And honestly, like, I commend you for being so open about it, because you could help other people by being like, well, like, I kind of feel weird. Like, maybe I should check this out or fight for myself. Like, the doctor said I'm fine, but like, if you're even just changing one person to like go and make sure something is good, like, that's all worth it. And sometimes people like to fight these battles by themselves, but I think it's kind of amazing that you're so open with it and so honest with it, because you are in the public eye, obviously, and you have so much followers that you could make a difference in someone's life.
And I have to thank Candice Michelle, because Candice is one of the people that also talked to me about, thyroid and adrenal glands and all of that. So it's like, we can help each other as long as we, want to be open about it.
So, I mean, we talk about all these things physically, like, how mentally has this kind of affected you, like, every day? Because I'm sure it has to take a toll on some things. If you it can't be easy.
I just talked about this recently. Like, this past year has been just awful. Like, I mean, yes, also great in some ways, but then awful in others. And like, but I've been home by myself without Mike a ton. And so, we were put on 2 different shows. We were on complete opposite schedules for the longest time. He's in London right now for a week. And I'm not. And so it's like, I've got that going on in my career where I'm feeling very unfulfilled and wanting to do more. And I'm used to fighting for and doing so much more, especially in the last several years of my career before I got to AEW. And then on top of it, now I've got these health issues, and it starts to make you feel very much like, what's my purpose? Like, is there a sign here? Like, is wrestling and this portion of my career coming to a close? Or do I need to start looking at it in a different way? And like, do I need to start, thinking about going somewhere else, doing something else? Because, there's all these things that are happening in my life. And when your health comes into question, then all you can think about is like, am I living my best life? So if something terrible were to happen, would I be proud of the things that I'm doing right now in my life? And as far as my kids and of course my family and my marriage, like, all of that is wonderful. And I feel like, that's really great. But then what is my purpose in my career? And right now, I think that's kind of gotten lost.
All right. If there's anything you guys know about me, you know how much I love pizza. It's not even a question. It's my favorite food in the world. Gabby LaSpisa loves her pizza. And being from the Pizza Belt, I'm very selective with how I take my pie, which I've also spoken about. Chef founder Chris Wallace started Ozzy's in his home kitchen back in 2021 with the hopes of bringing his hometown's pizza to Los Angeles. Co-owner and fellow New Havener, Craig Taylor, joined Ozzy's in 2022, and the rest, as they say, is history. Pizza history, if you will. Brought together by their shared love of metal, comedy, pro wrestling, of course, and beats, They have made it their mission to bring the thin, crispy, well done style they've always loved to the City of Angels. Now, you guys know I wouldn't just be talking about pizza if it wasn't good pizza. So if you have not tried Ozzy's Pizza, you are 100% missing out. So go and get some Ozzy's Pizza and thank me later. Gabbyless Pizza with the pizza. Mwah.
And I fight and I try, to do more and more. But it's also, when timing meets opportunity, and there's where do you belong? So mentally, that makes it really tough. But it also gives you like a sense of clarity of like, okay, I know that I'm not happy with where my career is right now. And whether that means in wrestling or just it's time to move on and do something else, I'm not sure.
So let me ask you this: if tomorrow it is changed and it's not wrestling anymore, are you happy to take a new role, or would you feel unfulfilled in that like there was one last match you wanted or something you would have wanted to do before you hung up your boots in that sense?
Yeah, I mean, as far as wrestling goes, I don't feel unfulfilled at all. Like in the ring stuff, wrestling,
Right.
I did it. My very last match was at WrestleMania, and I could feel it. I got about halfway down the ramp and I go, this isn't it. This isn't it at all. Like, I just knew I was done with wrestling myself. Do I think that there's things in the business of wrestling that I could contribute? Of course. Like, I hate when people feel as if they're not getting heard in this industry. There's been so many more opportunities for women, and I think that women are, they're the strongest in any division in any company right now. I think they just have so much to tell. It was such a brilliant story to tell. The business of wrestling, I think, could run smoother. I think that there's ways that we could help our talent, and help both male and female. Like, I think that there are things that could definitely be put into place that could help wrestlers lead longer, happier, healthy careers. And so there's a part of me that feels like maybe I should fight for that. And maybe I've been fighting for that a bit in my own way. But, if I had to walk away, there's other things that are, getting put into place right now that I feel confident will be beneficial eventually anyway. So, sometimes the universe tells you it's time to move on. And I don't know if now's the time, but sometimes I feel like it's trying to say, okay, maybe try something else for a little while.
Which is crazy. I couldn't imagine it. Like, I was watching your promo the other day with Griff, and you were like calling, because you're the first lady of Ring of Honor, and like you said it, and it's just like so true. And it kills me to not see you with Mike and Taven, because like I just think that that's money. I know that's not in your control, obviously, but I love them together. I think they're insanely good. I love both of them as people, and on my TV, just as they're so good. I do. They're just, Mike is like, I'll go to Mike and just be like, I'm having a bad day. Can you want to talk to me? And he's like, what's going on? Like, he's just that guy. If you don't follow Mike Bennett on social media, like, he will make every day feel better for you, because he's just such an inspiring human being. But just shout out to Mike, who's in London. It's not about you, but it breaks my heart not seeing you with them on TV. Is that also like struggle? Because I'm sure that was your goal and your dream as well, to like always end with your husband at the end of the day and not be on separate shows. So I'm sure that has to be difficult.
Yeah, it was crazy because I didn't know it was happening. It basically just happened, and then that was it.
Right. Yeah, that's how it works.
I understand business is business, and that's fine. But there's also there's 10 years of history there. And I've been working with my husband for 13 years.
Right.
And so it's weird. It's weird for me. It's really hard. I adore them both so much. It's like Mike's my husband, but Taven ended up being my protector in a lot of ways for many years.
Wow.
Like so many times we'd be out there and, match would happen, all this stuff. And for some reason, Taven is the one helping me out of the ring or carrying to the back or, he'll be the one to hold my hand while I'm getting into the ring. And I'm like, where is my husband? Like,
what is happening?
What is going on? So I had these two amazing men that constantly, protected me in different ways. And, Taven and I would share hair products when we'd go to Japan or, we would share all these stories of, what was going on with our lives. And it's so funny. Still to this day, the boys come back from a match, and if I'm backstage, they come right to me. And it's heartbreaking now because I want to be out there with them. But I also think that there's something to letting them go so they can fly. I think for me, it's more of I wish I had the chance to just have that one final goodbye. And I always, every time I say it, I start tearing up because those are my boys, and I never had that moment of, all right, now go and be these incredible champions that I always knew that you could be and be these amazing people that I always knew that you would be. And you don't need me anymore. And that's great. And I want them not to need me. And as parents, you raise children not so that they are great kids. No, you raise children so they go out and become great adults. And in essence, that's what I feel like is they don't need me anymore, but I would have liked a goodbye or at least an opportunity to have that one last moment. And that makes me very sad. And I miss them so much. I always get so excited when they're at Ring of Honor when I'm there with Griff or Griff and Cole, because it's like we all, we all come together and it's nice to have that camaraderie and that back and forth. And Griff is Taven 2.0 and Cole is Mike 2.0. And it is just, it's so funny. There's similarities, and of course there's a million differences, but there's definitely some similarities there. And and Griff and Cole they've really formed this amazing relationship during all of this. And where they have their little conversations while we're out there ringside, and it's just so funny to see that coming together like I watched with Mike and Matt, because now they could be out in the ring and I know whether or not it's going good. I could tell by how they look at each other. I'm just
that's so funny.
And I'm standing in the back and I'm I'm rooting them on, and it's but yeah, it's hard. That definitely took a toll on me. It's I'm so used to being with my husband all the time, and people would get so annoyed. They would be like, why do you guys hang out all the time? You're married, and then you come to work, and you hang out at work, and you sit at lunch together. I'm like, well, because I married my best friend, and that's, and then, Taven will come, and he'll be with our group, and it's, we all just liked hanging out together. So, yeah, it definitely took a toll.
Well, I mean, I will still put in the universe. I would love for you to have that moment. Maybe it'll full circle itself around in some way and you would work with them to get that moment, because I know what that's like to not get the goodbye that you want, or, to be in something for a long time. And I think it's also mentally to be like, I know this is the last time. So you can almost accept its closure in anything.
I mean, we had it both times with Ring of Honor. When we left Ring of Honor to go to Impact, there was that moment of goodbye. And then, and we had the moment of goodbye with Taven, and we knew that we were going to Impact, and Taven was staying back at Ring of Honor, and then he got injured while we were going out the door, which was just such a mind fuck of oh no, what do we do? And I still
God.
feel badly about that to this day. But like, and then, when Ring of Honor closed before Tony ended up buying it, we had those, moments of goodbye. And so, yeah, it still weighs on me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks because I love to see you guys together. I think you're best when you're together. And I think I'm going to manifest that maybe it can still.
They're all set. They're going to do fantastic at Wembley.
They will.
I have no idea what they're doing, but like to see those two boys out there after running the road with them in Japan and all over the States, and like what Taven's been able to do as a world champion, like, and what Mike's been able to do with his recovery, like they deserve that moment so much. And yeah, they don't need me anymore. I just want to be there.
I get it. But listen, also selfishly, I'm like, I like when I see my friends on TV. So I'm like, I would love to see Maria out there. Like, I think it's fun. Like, so for me, maybe I'm selfish, but you never know. It's also so funny because you refer to them as Mike and Matt. That's their names. And my brothers are Mike and Matt, like my actual two older brothers. So every time you say Mike and Matt, like it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, Mike, like just see personally for me, I always think of my brothers. And you said like Taven takes care of you and he's like your big brother, even though
I literally, the amount of times that I'm looking up the ramp with Taven on my arm and there's my husband at the top of the ramp, I'm like, dude, like what? Hello.
She's all right. She's all right.
Yeah, like, I watched her birth 2 kids at this point. She's good.
Oh, she's fine. She's been through worse than this. It's okay. Yeah. But obviously you mentioned working with Griff and now you're working with the younger boys. Like, is that something, do you still have fun doing that?
I love it.
Because
I love it.
Yeah. Was that your idea to kind of want to bring them up in that sense and be like Mama Maria, or did they want to work with you? Or like, how did that come
kind of like, it was Tony for sure. And then like, of course, you start putting your own spin on it. And I think for Tony, like it was brilliant of him because it's a way for me to, give along my experience and my knowledge, without, having to be in the ring, so it's like, it's brilliant as far as, Tony putting me with these younger people, because then I can constantly be there and, when we're doing promos or being in the ring or whatever, I'm there to assist and to help. But yeah, we definitely kind of ran with it a little bit, and more to come now that MXM is around.
Hilarious.
They definitely need a manager, so I'm sure I'm going to keep pushing for that.
Yeah, hell yeah. Just the tip thing, like I literally laughed out loud. Like I loved that so much because I love any kind of sexual innuendo. I just think that's the greatest thing ever.
Oh yeah.
But like it was so good. And Griff was just like grabbing it instead of just doing the tip, and you're like, no, like it's just so funny to me. And I loved how you even came in with them, like you were the hot mom, and they were like, oh, like Maria's so hot. She's like, it's because you are, by the way, just putting it out there. It's not normal to have 2 children and look the way you look, but that's just besides the point. But yeah, no, I love it. I think something you do so well, and this is, I'm not kissing your ass, but like you are just so naturally entertaining. Which is why I asked if you or Mike were funnier, because I'm like, you make me laugh sometimes, like on TV, and that's just you kind of. I could just tell you're just talking. So I love it. I would love to see more of it. I would like to see you manage all those boys. You need like a whole herd of boys behind you, I think.
It's so fun. It's so fun, and like just hearing and not necessarily just these guys, but just hearing the guys in the locker room or at lunch, and like the things that they're doing, the things that they're saying, the parties they're going to, the girls, like it is just, is so fun for me at this point in my life, because
of course
I witnessed all of it. I was a part of it. And it's just, it's so fun. as they grow and they change and they make the same mistakes as everybody does, and it's like you try and tell them and it's just not going to fix it. But it's so cool to watch people get better and succeed and grow. And like when Griff had his match against Adam Copeland, and just how good he was in that match. And he is a person that no matter what the challenge that he faces, he's going to be able to come up to that challenge, and he's going to get better because of that challenge. And so with him, like, it's just continuing to put those difficult obstacles in his way so that he has to conquer, because it's going to continue to build confidence. And he's funny. He's innately funny. And that's what like I'm growing to learn about him too, is he's very, very funny. He reminds me so much of like Triple H kind of humor, that Kurt Angle kind of humor, where still like super tough, but there's a little bit of just funny in there, you know, like all those old like Christian and Edge promos. Like I feel like he would just fit right in to all of that.
Yeah. And he's so young, like it's crazy because like it's only going to go up from there. Like there's so much young talent in Ring of Honor, especially that I'm just like, I don't know if people are sleeping on it, if they're not watching it or whatever.
There's a lot of wrestling out there right now. And I think with where it's positioned and how it's positioned, it makes it really tough. And I'm hopeful that after Wembley, Ring of Honor is able to get a bit of a footing again. You know, maybe we can continue working on how to market it and how to reconnect with our audience. And where does Ring of Honor fit in this world of wrestling right now? And I think that's the biggest thing, is like, where is its niche? Ideally for me, and you know, throw this in the atmosphere, it really doesn't matter. But like for me, I feel like Ring of Honor should be the place where young talent comes and they grow. And I think that, you know, it should be its own thing. It should be, you know, a place where it's almost a camp of, you know, what do you got? And see it, you know, and you know, there's those combines, it kind of in that same vein of, you know, make it that to where you're going to challenge them the whole weekend. Are you good enough? And then spend some time there. And if you're good enough, you get to go to AEW. But again, I don't write the checks. I don't make the rules.
Oh man, I wish you would sometimes. No, but like, it's funny you say it like, so do you think, is that kind of like a correlation to like what NXT is in WWE, would you say? Kind of bring them in, and then when you think they're ready.
Okay, I'm gonna try and choose my words here. Okay,
yes,
no, it's fine. So NXT does a really good job of making it pretty. Like, I feel like it's just really pretty. You know, they do an excellent job of that, and like getting them ready for sports entertainment and getting them ready to, you know, there's some tremendous wrestlers that are on NXT. And I think that they do a really good job of that. Ring of Honor, I think, still has that soul of, you know, the underdog. And I think that, you know, continuing with that vibe of it being where the underdogs go and where the underdogs try and fight, I think that's more where it should be. Where NXT, I think, is just a little bit more glamorous, if that makes sense.
No, I think it totally makes sense. I think something that I enjoy when I watch NXT and those kinds of things is when they utilize more veteran talent to get the experience with the younger talent and really let them shine and like put them over. Is that something you, and a Ring of Honor does it as well. Obviously you have Athena, who's a veteran and been around for a very long time, and she's fucking amazing. Yep. Is that something you think you would like to see happen a little bit more and like bring in, you know, obviously
I think I just like it to be a little bit more organized in that sense of like, that's what it's going to be. And, you know, have your group of talent that is coming in for this specific purpose, and knows that that's what the purpose is, and, you know, build off of that and build truly fantastic stories of underdogs, and you know, focus on that, and keep people in those on TV long enough so we can get to know them, so that when they do make it to the big stage, we're super passionate about what they're doing, and we know where they came from, we know what they're about, and now we want to fight for them on TV. And I think it's really, really difficult to do that when you have so much television that you're producing. But there are excellent minds behind the scene, and there are, you know, excellent people that are trying to, you know, continue to organize and guide this very, very young company. And Tony has a fantastic heart. I just think it's not there yet. I think it'll get there. Just don't think it's there yet.
Yeah. And you mentioned something like when they do make it up, like you want to be invested in them and know where they came from. That's huge to me, because that's something that I'm an emotional investment watcher when I watch pro wrestling, because I didn't grow up watching it. So I don't watch for the moves. Like, of course I want to see a good wrestling match, but like, that's not what I watch it for. I watch if I care about the person that's in the ring. That's how I like, and like sometimes if I don't know where they came from or seen any of their matches, I'm just like, oh, they're here. Why? Like, why should I want them to win or not want them to win?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with like the veterans. So like you watch an Adam Copeland match because you know his history, you know, and you know where he came from and the things that he's had to face. You watch Daniel Bryan and you know his history. You want to fight for him because he fought for himself, you know, and you want to fight for these people because you know all of the adversity that they've had to face, and it makes it more interesting, and it makes the matches more meaningful. And that's the one piece that I feel is missing from Ring of Honor right now, is you have that with certain people. And like when Mark Briscoe comes around, like you feel it.
Oh my God.
When the Kingdom comes around, you feel it. You know, when these guys show up, when Shane is there, you feel it. You feel that connection. And you know, I want to feel it more. And I want to feel it from everybody there. And that takes a ton of work, and it takes a ton of organization. And when you have this many people on the roster and you have this much television to produce, you know, it's really, really important to get the TV production out there and doing what it's supposed to be doing. And I just think, you know, give Ring of Honor some time and it's going to get there too.
Yeah. I mean, because the talent is 100% there. That's also not the easiest thing to get, but that's what I look forward to seeing, is kind of like the evolving of these like talents that we've seen. Because like I said, some of them were in Women's Wrestling Army with me, and now I'm watching them like shine in these areas where like I'm just like, I get so excited. Queen Aminata, I met her through that, like Sky Blue. Like these are people that are now, you know, like in these platforms, and it's like amazing. Who are some people in Ring of Honor you were like, keep your eye on them because they're going to be like heavy hitters? Is there anybody where you're like, for sure?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't think that Red Velvet is just like,
love her,
this much. She's showing you this much.
Yeah, hasn't even scratched the
surface.
Yeah.
She's literally going to be the face of something at some point. She's uber talented, uber motivated. Like, this much. I mean, Queen Aminata, everybody knows, like, she's going to be if not should be right now, the face of something.
Right.
Griff is, he's afraid of himself a little bit. And he'll probably hate hearing me say that, but I think he's got so much more in him, and it's just a matter of time. Like, once Griff shows you who Griff is, I think everybody's going to be super impressed. He's one of those ones that, like, I remember when I first met Cody Rhodes, and I was like, okay.
So we had the appetizer last week. Now it's time to feast. College football is back, baby. I know I'm excited. You have to be excited too. It's going to be awesome. Don't miss any of the action. Jump in at DraftKings Sportsbook. This is going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date. Enjoy the ride now all the way through the expanded playoffs. Plus, all newbies. Are you a newbie? Getting into the college spirit, here's something extra special. New DraftKings customers bet $5, just that's it, $5 to get $250 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code COMBINE. That's code COMBINE, COMBINE, for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. That's it, $250 if you bet just $5. I think that's a pretty good deal if you ask me. And it's only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is also available for any gambling problem. Call 8887-897777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after it's issued. For additional terms and responsible gaming sources, see dkng.co/ftball.
And now I'm like, holy shit. You know, like, so Griff is one of those people that I'm like, okay, he's tall and he's good looking and he's talented. He's super athletic, but give him 10 years, get a little dirty during that time. You got a world champion, you know? So, and Shane's another one. Like, Shane went toe to toe with so many of the AEW stars. And it was like 1 week he was doing Ring of Honor, and then the next week he's on AEW, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, who's this guy? It's like, no, he belongs in the ring. He belongs doing that. I would say them for sure. Rachel Ellering for sure. I think once she gets her feet underneath her, she's one of the best promos I've heard. One of the best. And like, if she's just allowed to be her for, you know, even a few months, it's going to be game changing for her. There's definitely a lot of potential in Ring of Honor. It's just going to be a matter of time, you know, and it's going to be a matter of organization. Like, what are we able to see every single week consistently?
Right. Man, time. That's what you told me when we were talking before the interview. You were like, just need patience and time. And I'm like, I don't have patience, Maria. This is what you preach to me all the time. And I hate it. Well, but you're 100% right.
So, like, I'm starting to write a book right now. And who knows what'll happen with it. And if it'll come out next year or in 5 years or ever. But, you know, I would have no material for a book had I not had 20 years of my career. Yeah. So, you know, chicken or the egg, you know, you need one for the other. You need the other for the one. It's, it's definitely hard to see what your life could become when you're in the grind. And I still feel like I'm grinding. Like it's so
Isn't that
crazy
crazy?
because
That's
it's like
crazy. Yeah.
even when I was on TV every single week with WWE, in there with John Cena and The Rock, and like I never felt like I was successful, and I still don't feel successful. But you definitely need
sad.
the grind in order to like to have a story to tell and to be good at your job. To understand anybody's past, you need the grind.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've been told. So that's what we got to do. Well, they always say like, don't they say like bad decisions, like do it for the plot. You know what I mean? Like always just say yes to everything, do it for the plot because you're going to want to talk about it like later on. I do tell my friends that like I do things for them, for the stories. Like all my friends that are happily married, like living in their homes with their kids, just like living the great chill life. I'm like, I do this for you guys because when you're like, how was your week? I'm going to tell you a million things that your week was the same. My week, I have some stories for you. So you do it for the plot.
I think I'm just doing both at this point.
You're juggling both, which I don't know how you do it because you're an amazing mother, you're an amazing wife.
It was funny. Like a couple years ago, I was like, what do I wear to take my daughter to school? Like, what do I wear? And so like, I went to Target and I bought a bunch of t-shirts that were appropriate to wear. You know, it's like, why would I ever
just show up in your wrestling outfit?
I can't go there and like, I just, no. So, it's just, yeah, it's weird. I do both. And sometimes I forget, like, I forget who I am sometimes and, or who I was. And then I have to like remind myself, like, so right now with Ring of Honor schedule, we're not filming every single week. And so like a couple weeks went and I hadn't been to TV and I was like, oh shit, like I gotta remember how to do this. Like, and I'm like talking to Mike about it. I'm like, I don't know how to cut a promo. I have no idea. And I'm like, so there I am and I'm talking and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, there it is. There I am, you know, and it's like,
gotta fall
listen
back into
to the music and you do, you know, you put on the outfit and the makeup and you're like, okay, I hope it's there. And then it's there and you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm still good.
I feel like it's like riding a bike. Like you kind of just have to get back on and you remember. Like, isn't it at this point, what is that, like muscle memory?
Yeah, and it's also helpful that I have people counting on me. So like if I didn't have younger people counting on me, then that would also be a struggle. And that's one of the things, like you asked me, you know, would there be things that I felt like I still needed to do in wrestling? And like that's one of the things like I love to do. I love watching people succeed. And so it's like I love to help. And so that like motivates me to get back on the stick.
That's such a mom answer, by the way, where it's like, it's not about me. Like, I have to do it for everybody else, you know, like, which is true. Like, when you have people like counting on you, you're going to be like, okay, like you have to do it at this point. There's not really an option if you could be good or bad. Like, you just got to go.
Well,
you got to get through it.
Again, the story that, you know, maybe I should tell, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to tell it anyways, because who knows what's going to happen.
Always cut it out.
So we were down in Florida, in Jacksonville, and I love the building there. It's beautiful, and we're outside and whatever. And so the boys are doing this match where they got to put a chair in the corner, and I explain it to them, like, okay, this is how you do it. You put the chair in this way, and blah blah blah. So I think we're good to go. They get in there, they try it once, doesn't work. Try it again, doesn't work. I was like, fuck it. So I get up on the apron and I do it. But I've only seen it done. Like I've never done that, but because I had to do it in that moment, and because I was just playing off of the fact that I got to take care of my baby boys, that's it. I'm going to do it.
Right. You got to do it. That's so funny. That's amazing.
It's just weird because like when you get in those situations, like, you know, it's got to go.
Yeah. Well, they always say too, like if you want to do something right, do it yourself.
Wow.
You know what I mean, I don't know. That's always been like my kind of motto. And it's sometimes I don't have the patience to watch other people. I'm like the worst person to like train somebody because like I I would rather just do it. Like, especially when you're used to doing it. This was like my one thing too, even when I was a producer, like if we had interns or like whatever, like where you say patience, like it was very hard for me to teach someone how to do something, which is probably not a great trait. I should be a little more patient of a person and want to teach people, but I'm like, I'll just do it. And then you watch me do it. And then I would have to be like, take a step back and be like, all right, like, let me slow it down kind of for you.
Wait
but I just think
till or if you have children and watching them put their shoes on before school. Holy cow. You will get all the patience in the world for everyone else on the planet because watching them, and then they're like, I need to go back inside because I need a toy. And I'm like, no, you don't. No. You don't need a toy.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm actually scared if I ever have children for the children because like I won't have I'm going to be like, put the shoe. Like, I don't think I have the patience to be a mom. I really don't.
I don't feel like I do for anyone else except for my own children.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say. You know, it's always different when you have your own. Yes. Like, I have nephews and stuff that I love to death, but it's because I can give them back. Like, I say this all the time.
Tough. Like, it is a tough thing to, like, you're watching them put the shoe on and you're like, I know you're supposed to learn how to tie your shoe, but it would be so much quicker and we wouldn't be late if I just tied it for you.
Did you ever see Billy Madison where the guy's trying to read and he's stuttering and he's like, today, like I would be mean to my kids and be like, today, like read the book. Like, no, we're reading. Like that's how I envision myself as a parent, but it's fine. I got to find a man first to like want to have kids with me. That's a whole different, scenario if that even comes down the line, Maria, but we can talk about that at a different time. That's a whole different show. Every time I bring on like my friends and we get into it and they're always like, oh, I have all these guys I literally just had Gail on the show.
Yes.
And Gail's the best. And she was talking about her husband, who's not an athlete. He's a famous chef and I love him because Food Network's like, I love food. And she was like, oh my God, I have so many guys I can introduce you with, like, none of them athletes though. And I'm like, that's probably why. Like, she's like 100% that's why I'm dating someone who's not a wrestler. Mm-hmm. So that's the advice I get from everyone is never, ever date a wrestler.
Yeah, I married one.
Yeah, you did. So I can't ask you advice because you're the opposite.
So when Mike and I first got together, everybody was either in the middle of getting a divorce, splitting up. There was some kind of weird scandal happening. Like, it was just everyone told us, do not get together. Don't do it. This is the worst. Like, I heard all of it. He's going to cheat on you. He's going to be the worst. He's blah, blah, blah. And then same thing went for me. She's going to cheat on you. She's going to leave. And it was so weird because, like, for years we were like, oh, we're just not a wrestling relationship. We're just happen to be two people that wrestle, but like, we're just not a wrestling relationship.
Yeah.
And like, it's weird because it's not like it's been easy. Like,
mm-hmm.
I mean,
I'm sure,
we've had a lot happen, and so for us, we communicate a lot. And we also have to realize that people do not stay the same their entire life. So, and nor should you. You should grow and you should learn. And so who he was when he was a drug addict or before he was a drug addict is not who he is now. And he has different needs and wants and, different dreams than he did back then. And I've had to come around to some of them, or I've had to change for some of them. And the same thing goes for me. Like, when he first met me, I had just came out of WWE. And so and I was working for Mark Cuban and doing stuff on the Fight Network back then. And I was just doing different things at the time. I had just done Celebrity Apprentice. And so I was just in a different place. Crazy. And so when he first met me, everybody's like, well, she's going to leave you. And so, it was
People are so mean.
What?
People are so mean.
It was a different thing. And when I first met him, he had one pair of shoes and one dress shirt. Like, that's all he had.
Oh my God.
And we were in very different places, but I respected him. He respected me. We continue to change. And now he's the one in London doing the thing. And I'm the one here. And, you flip-flop and you change. You have to learn.
Yeah. It's all about balance too. I feel like you always have to, it's like you got to step it up sometimes when that person has less time to be there, and like vice versa. Like you have to kind of have that understanding within each other. And that's why I just think it's I wouldn't say like easy, but it makes sense for me when wrestlers end up with other wrestlers, because it's a hard job and life to explain to someone that's not in it.
It is. And, you know, it's even hard for me. Like, and I've been in it, but when we got split up, like, it was really difficult on our marriage. Like, this was probably the hardest year of our marriage. We're good now, but like at first it was really difficult. And you know, it's a blessing now. When we were first going through it, I was pissed. But that's just, you know, it's being competitive and wanting to be successful and wanting to be on the main show and wanting to, you know, show what you got and, you know, do what you were made to do. And so that makes it tough. And then plus on top of that, he's my best friend. So I wasn't seeing my best friend. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that things are coming up at the beginning of November. There's an option, but we'll see what happens. For me, it's about still being able to have a purpose and to feel like you're contributing. And wherever I can do that, that's where I want to do it. I want to work for my money. I don't want to work. Right. Yeah, I don't want to not work for a paycheck. I want to work for a paycheck. And I've always felt that way. Even when I was on maternity leave, I was like, I got to get back to work. I got to get back to work because I want to contribute. And, you know, that's who I've always been. That's how I was raised. I had my first job when I was 12 years old, you know, and so wherever it is that's going to be an opportunity to, you know, really make an impact and to be able to work and help people, that's where I want to be. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, it is amazing that a lot of these places, you've been everywhere, and a lot of these places you did work at, a lot's changed since you haven't been there. So, you know, you never know what can happen. And I'm sure, you know, the door's not always closed for a change if that's what will make you happy at the end of the day. Because I always say mental health and happiness is like how you have to live your life at this point.
For sure. And I love what AEW is about. Like, that's why I loved Ring of Honor after I was out of WWE. And that was because, like, I think it is the greatest wrestling in the world. I think AEW has the greatest wrestling in the world. I think that Tony Khan is probably the very best at putting together pay-per-views that I've ever seen in my life. Like, the pay-per-views, every single one of them is a banger. Like, it's just every one of them I'm excited to see. I'm excited to watch. And I think that, you know, the idea of a company that is the underdog that is able to make such a huge impact in the wrestling industry, like, I can get behind that for sure.
100%.
But it's also like, do I fit? You know, and there have been tons of changes. Like, WWE has done so much change in the last few years, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Like, the opportunities that the women are getting, I'm super, like, I'm just so happy to be seeing those things. I think that what Impact or TNA is doing right now, I think that is really cool. And the way that they're starting to sell out more and more arenas and bigger places, and, you know, so there's just so much
momentum. The crossover too, TNA and NXT.
Yeah, I think that there's just so much momentum out there in the wrestling world. And I don't, at this point, I don't feel one way or another way about any companies. I just feel like everybody in this industry needs to find out where they best fit and where is the best for their family.
I love that answer. I usually end, because you've given me like an hour of your time. I could talk to you I say this to everybody at the end. I'm like, I always could talk to you for 3 hours, but that's just because I could talk too. But like, I love you so much for joining. I usually always ask people to, like, oh, you know, how does this year look for you? What do you want to look back on? And I feel like you kind of just answered that without me even asking. But I want to see you healthy and happy. I don't think people, if they don't know, you are one of the best people that I've had the pleasure of being friends with in this industry. Like, literally before we even had this meeting or this interview, I was like, oh, how are you? And we were talking, and then she goes, but how are you? And you're like one of the first people to be like, how are you doing? Like, and that's just you being you, caring about another human being and someone that you are friends with. And that's a very beautiful thing about you. And I hope everyone knows that you are that person to me that I feel like I can always call or text if something's going on, and you give amazing advice and you genuinely give a shit. So you are amazing, and I love you, and I appreciate you coming on and always having my back, always wanting good things for me, because I know you actually do, and you don't just say it, and that's a hard thing to find. So I don't mean to make this like emotional or like whatever, but you did play a big role in me figuring out my dreams in this as well. So like, I appreciate you so much, and thank you for the time today and just being yourself and being vulnerable and being open with me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just have patience. It's coming. Good things are coming.
Well, I hope so. And same with you. And, all good things, positive vibes for you. Everybody, please. Everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be good. And you're going to be happy and healthy. And we're going to see you back with the Kingdom on TV. I can't wait.
We'll see. I mean, you never know. Who knows?
Know.
Who knows where or when that will be? It'll probably be with me, like in a wheelchair or on a walker, like me in the Kingdom. Like,
and Matt will be wheeling in while Mike's already in the ring.
But like, I don't know. I've had so many blessings, and this is. I know that this period of my life, even though it is such a struggle, and like lost my yaya recently, like I know that it is a blessing. I just can't see it yet. And whatever comes down the pike, whether it is staying at AEW or leaving wrestling completely, whatever it is, I know it's how it's supposed to be. It's just a matter of surrendering. And sometimes I just want to fight it all.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. It's well, I love you so much. Thank you so much for your time today and always positive vibes. I will be checking in on you obviously in the next couple of weeks, because that's just how I am. And I hope I can see you sometime soon. Thank you so much. And I will have you back, I'm sure, at some point. Maybe we'll get some good updates from you.
Maybe after, if we find out it's cancer or not, we'll do an update.
I don't like that. That's going to be a whole different kind of show. I don't know.
Yeah, it's life.
You're going to be okay. It is life. Life is crazy.
It is. It's all part of it.
Well, thank you for being an inspiration and a beautiful person. And I love you. And thank you for the time. And everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, LYMNB, love you most, no backs.